Who Dey to all those Bengals fans out there, fired up Who Dey.
Yes, sir.
Man, if we would have recorded this after the game, the podcast might have exploded, man. That's how juiced and amped everybody was. But welcome back to another episode of Gridiron Jungle with your two favorite Bengals fans. I'm Rich with my brother Philly Phil. Phil, how you doing? It was Cincinnati's birthday. It was your birthday. And it was a Bengals game for the ages. I have to ask you, one day we'll do this, maybe in the lull time between now and the draft, or not, excuse me, end of the season and the draft, where we might have to rank our top 5 Bengals games that we've attended. What anywhere, it doesn't have to be Paycor or Paul Brown, anywhere.
Yeah,
that might be number 2. That might be number 2 for me, right
man.
behind the playoff game against the Raiders. This is the year we went to the Super Bowl, 2021. But yeah, that atmosphere, and you can speak to it, but that atmosphere. And listen, we've said it before. You don't appreciate the jungle until you go to other stadiums and watch games there, and you realize, like, oh, nah, we really get it cracking in Cincinnati.
Absolutely.
Anyway, I say all that to say it was an incredible Saturday. One of the most dramatic games. My blood pressure, I was telling Phil, my Apple Watch kept telling me your blood, like your beats, your heartbeats.
The heart rate,
up, and your heart rate's going up, and you've been inactive for 10 minutes. Like, what's going on? It was one of those type games, man. It was a pleasure to be in the building. Phil, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. I said it leading up to, there was nothing more than I wanted than a meaningful game, on my birthday. That's exactly what we got. If my Apple Watch wasn't dead, I made a rookie mistake. We did some celebrating, stayed downtown for a couple of days, and I didn't have my charger phone or my watch. So I'm sure my watch would have said the same thing, but it was definitely a thriller. So many things about that game reminded me of that Raiders playoff game that you mentioned during that Super Bowl run. And even down to the Pratt interception, it was just so many things that drew parallels in that game. The opponent was from the same division, so just kind of cool. But man, like you said, the jungle was rocking. It was the last home game of the year. It was fan day, so a lot of cool things going on in the stadium. But the energy was up. I don't know if it had something to do with my birthday or the weather or what it was, but it was a beautiful day. We couldn't have asked for better weather in December football. Definitely would have thought we were somewhere outside of Cincinnati, but it was electric, way more stressful than I would have liked it to be. But man, what a game. And it was really awesome to come out on the other end, because during that game, I was having so many flashbacks of these close games that we've had throughout the season that have gone the other way. And, it was just really great to see Joe go full shiesty. T, although I don't think it'll be his last game in Paycor, it was just amazing to see him get the hat trick. Bengals win their 4th straight, move to 8-8 and keep those playoff hopes alive. So just, man, I just got excited again, just thinking about it. I can't tell you how many times I watched that overtime and still get stressed out. So man, it was a hell of a game, and I'm just glad I was there to witness history. So wonderful game.
Yeah, you can tell by our long opening rants how exciting the game was. It really I completely forgot about the weather, man. The weather was incredible. If you were in Cincinnati this past weekend, I stayed for the entire week. My original plans were going to be to leave the day after Christmas, but then Phil's birthday was on Saturday. To move the game to Saturday, so it made sense to stay a couple extra days. And man, oh man, am I happy that I did. We'll get into kind of the stats and just how wacky the game was and how many times we won it and lost it. And it's crazy because we just talked about, the final score of the game was, what was it, 30-24? 30-24 is the official, the official last score. But when you look at these stats from a team perspective, it's like, how was this game so close? So the Bengals outgained the Broncos 499 yards to 329. Passing yards, it was 384 to 206. They did have the edge on us rushing, 123 to 115. We had one more yard average per play. We had 6 to their 5. We lost one fumble. They threw an interception, so the turnovers. But here's the thing. Well, third down efficiency, we were 53% to their 33%. Shout out to the defense. I want to make sure we highlight them. Make sure that the apologies are as loud as the disrespect. Not that we're disrespecting, we were just calling it how it is, but want to make sure we give them props for showing up and making timely stops. The Broncos defense kind of reminds us, and I know they're top 4, they were 4th in the league in points per game. The Broncos defense, they're a really good defense, but they haven't been playing well the past few weeks if you've been watching them or keeping up with them. The Browns game, the Chargers game, like you can get to them. I think Jameis had 500 on them. And this game felt like they were doing the Bengals act from 2021, the good old Lou defense, which I talk about, to try to hold them in the red zone. There were a couple of 4th down calls that didn't go our way, obviously. But continue with these stats. We had the ball for 41 minutes and 56 seconds compared to their 26-57. So I say all of that, and you're probably wondering, like, how was this game so close to begin with? And then you get to one key factor that really, unless you're watching the game, tells the full story. 7 sacks to Joe Burrow. And a lot of them were timely sacks. A lot of them were ones that was one of the 4th downs, actually, him trying to escape. And
after Jamar dropped the touchdown.
Yeah, feeling myself going to sit in the same sections. We're 7 sections apart. But I really I can only picture what you were going through. How many of those sacks were you thinking to yourself, Joe, get rid of the ball?
Man, 3, 4 of them, I would say. You know, there were a couple, it was just nothing he could do, but there were probably 3. I would say 3 of them where it was just like, man, Joe, like, let it go. You know, let it go. Just even if you're throwing it away, you know, like I know he always wants to make the play. I know we've grown accustomed to making the unthinkable plays, but got to find some balance there, man. You're going to take enough sacks as is with this offensive line. No need to take any on your own, in my opinion.
No, that's a fact. So we'll talk about the offensive line because that's the big spot right now for us. That makes me worried. I think we're clicking in all the right directions. We all know we still have things that need to happen in order for us to make the playoffs, including beating the Steelers, which is the only thing we can control. So keep the main thing, control the controllables. But man, if we get in, I don't want Joe having to feel the need to play that Superman ball, taking sacks that you don't need to, when you could just, live to fight another down, live to fight another possession. I get it. That's his mindset. Especially when you look at his stats for the game: 49 passing attempts, only 10 incompletions, 412 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He continues to play at an MVP level. It was really cool to see the crowd chant MVP, him embracing it as he gets off the field, because Joe is really him. Zach said it. We shout out to Zach. You know, we don't always agree on this podcast, but you can't look at him and say he's not the best player in the world.
Yeah.
And I saw Lamar on Christmas Day, and shout out to Lamar. But 7 days out of the week, twice on Sundays, give me Joseph Lee Burrow.
Shiesty all day.
Yeah, Joe Gritty. You know
Joe
what I mean?
Gritty for sure.
Chase Brown's streak of 100 yards from scrimmage ended. Man. He had 20 carries for 67 yards, 3.3 a pop. And then also he had 4 catches for 24 yards. What are we going to say, Phil?
I was going to say he came really close. You know, he just fell a little shy. If he doesn't get injured there at the end of the game and plays in overtime, I think he gets that. So
yeah, I think he definitely gets it, man. Khalil Herbert, man, 4 carries for 23 yards coming in after Chase went out.
He looked good.
Those are some valuable, 5.7 yards a carry. Those are valuable. Those are real valuable. So we definitely needed those. Tee Higgins, man. 11 receptions, 131 yards, 3 touchdowns, off of 12 targets, might I add. Jamar Chase with another down game, 9 receptions, 102 yards on 15 targets. Mike Gesicki, 10 catches, 86 yards. Yoshi with the touchdown call back due to an illegal shift. 3 catches for 59 yards. That was a beautiful play that really would have had him going. And then a couple other, like Cam Grandy, Drew Sample, both had one. On the offensive side of the ball. What did you feel about our overall offensive play? I think we both know the thing we need to talk about is the offensive line, but everywhere else, how did you feel about it?
I loved it, man. T had that fumble and was really beating himself up over that. Outside of that, I mean, he played a flawless game, just perfect. Looked like the best player on the field, including Burrow. I mean, there was just nothing they could do to stop T. Double, single coverage with Riley Moss. I mean, I think he even had a catch on Surtain when they moved him over to him. So
I'm sorry. Hold on. I'm sorry because I was watching this in the stands, and
yeah.
I'm glad Hard Knocks pointed this out when Joe told him, "Hey, you got a backup corner on you now." I don't know why. I get Surtain. You want to follow Chase,
right?
Court in the field. Chase is the you will be happy to know, Phil, the dude I was sitting next to at the game. He was a friend. He was a friend of the season ticket holder that sits next to me.
Okay.
Jamar Chase is the best wide receiver ever played the game football. And I'm just sitting there like, hey, y'all, wow. But shout out to Uno, man. Big Uno. But I saw 21 covering T, and I'm like, man, if they don't get that kid some help,
man,
he's gonna torch them all game. And I was so happy they kept going back, that Joe kept going back to him because he could not guard him, even if his life depended on it. He gets paid. He literally gets a paycheck, a nice paycheck to guard Tee Higgins, and he couldn't do it. He underperformed.
That second touchdown that T caught in the corner with the late hands. I mean, there was nothing. There was nothing Riley Moss could do, man. But
put it on the top shelf so the kids can't get it.
And the kids
can't reach it when you put it that high.
And
only
they did not
get it.
That's facts. So he definitely was signing all the permission slips. That's for sure. He took everyone on the trip. So he balled out. I thought, Jamar had a couple of uncharacteristic drops. He dropped the touchdown, which set up that fourth down sack that ended up being a turnover on downs where we missed getting some points there. So Burrow could have even had 4 or 5 touchdowns when you talk about the one that got called back there to Yoshi as well. But love seeing Gesicki get those 12 targets. I mean, he just came up. I feel like every catch he made was just like such a big catch, so really glad to see him get involved there. He's had an amazing season and is really close to surpassing the season, Tyler Eifert's best season. So really hope to find a way to get him back as well, because I think he's been big for us, quiet or not, so definitely thought he had a wonderful game and really liked the game plan that we had. It was we made the number one defense, although like you said, they've been struggling the past 3 weeks. We made the number one defense look average, and that was just great to see.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And it's kind of crazy because our first 2 possessions of the game end on turnover on downs, going forward on 4th down. Chase Brown got stopped short. And then the second one we mentioned, Joe Burrow got sacked. Also, just real quick, we've been calling T top shelf T for the past few years.
Yes, sir.
So hopefully we need to get it on a shirt or something like that. But literally, like, just put those real. No 50-50, no 80-20. Those at this point, those are 95-5s.
I like that too. T wears 5, 95-5 ain't bad.
You know what it reminds me of?
What's that?
Because I was going to say, the only way you stop that is if T doesn't make the play. Like, it has nothing to do with you. It reminds me of Draymond Green. Draymond Green telling the story about his rookie year playing against Kobe. Draymond didn't get a lot of minutes, but he came in guarding Kobe at the end of regulation. Everybody knows Kobe. He's going to go to that left, fadeaway, left shoulder fadeaway, right shoulder fadeaway, whichever side. And he missed the shot. And Draymond was fired up. Yeah, that's what we talk about. I said, Kobe. Kobe said, hey, young fella, that ain't had nothing to do with you. I just missed the shot. And that's what I feel like when I watch T and the ball's in the air. Like, there's no such thing as making a play on that. Like, you just better hope he drops it or it doesn't get both feet in. One of the two. Shout out to Cole, man. Yeah, that had nothing to do with you.
The play that T made to set up that touchdown in overtime was probably the best catch play of the game. Honestly, that was nasty.
Speaking of T, and you texted me this. You didn't text me exactly what you were talking about, but I knew what it was when I watched Hard Knocks. You're talking about Burton, man. Jermaine Burton, and he called it. He called it, man. After T fumbled. He was just telling him, man, you a wide receiver 1, bro. Like, he just speaking into him, like, you wide receiver 1. Like, he sees someone to come to work every day. Like, don't worry about that. And he said verbatim, you're gonna mess around. This game is tricky. You're gonna mess around and make the game winning catch or the game winning score. And
that's exactly what he did. He made the catch to set up the score. Even it was boom boom. So
and he made the catch that would have set up the field goal attempt if they would have made it. So all of it, T just had a monster game, man. It's just one of those games where, Joe, if you've been paying attention, Joe's been very vocal about the front office needs to retain these key players. And I know people are saying, how y'all going to do it? Who are you going to pay? Listen, I'll let them work it out. I don't believe for 1 second that they combine agents just to split. I don't know. Who knows? We still got season to play. Let's not talk about that right now. But
Right. And I'll be honest, like
100% need T back.
I hate hearing those questions or how they gonna pay him and this, that, and the other. The Bengals didn't pay anybody this offseason but Evan McPherson, and we already had cap room. So the Bengals have money. I mean, outside of Joe, there's not a lot of people getting paid. Trey is underpaid, Orlando Brown Jr. is underpaid. Everybody else is on expiring or short-term contracts. So, or we have outs. You know, we've got outs on Moss, we got outs on Hubbard, we got outs on Rankin. So even what you see available now isn't what we truly have available this offseason. So I'm looking forward, you know, again, based on those things that Joe's been saying, I'm expecting him to be a bit more involved. And I expect what we want to happen as fans to happen because, you know, we've got somebody that's holding that front office accountable. So, you know, hopefully we see the fruits of Joe's labors in those efforts this offseason.
Yeah, and we deserve it, man. Baby, I deserve. You know what I'm saying? I get free singing this episode.
Yeah, 2025, Rich.
Right. Defensive side of the ball. Phil, told you we made timely stops.
Mm-hmm.
Defense has been coming of age the past few weeks, just doing the things that it takes to win. All of these past few games have been playoff games, as Mike Hilton said on Hard Knocks.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think about the overall effort of the defense? When we talk about stats, you know, you have Cam Taylor-Britt with 7 tackles. You have Joseph Asai with half a sack, 5 tackles. Jermaine Pratt with 5, as well as a big-time interception. Newton, Fig had a couple of plays that we can discuss, but he had a tackle for loss. Had some good coverage down the game. Mike Hilton, 5'9" giant. We know what he does. Trey Hendrickson had a quiet game. He had half a sack with 2 tackles and a tackle for loss. The safeties, not their best performance.
Yeah, they stunk. I'll be honest. The safety play stunk. Outside of that, I thought the defense was solid. I thought Pratt absolutely balled out, even though he only had the 5-6 tackles. But he did have that timely interception, and he diagnosed that play like that. He ignored his assignment because he knew the play that they were calling. You can even see him kind of push BJ Hill out of the way, and BJ's kind of looking at him like, what? And I don't know what he said to him, but you can see that he knew exactly what they were running. Pratt is a big film guy, so I'm not surprised that he knew what was happening there. So I thought that was an amazing play. Shout out Cedric Johnson. I mean, he only had 11 snaps, but he had 2 pressures and a sack in those 11 snaps. You know, every time I see him on the field, he's making an impact. So I'm hoping to see more from him. And you already talked about Osai and Hendrickson, you know, having those half sacks there. So that's really all I had on the defensive side. Jordan Battle and Geno Stone should be ashamed for allowing Marvin Mims to get that 50-yard bomb off. He literally ran right past both of them. I don't know why Jordan Battle was spinning in circles on that. Like he looked like a center fielder that took the wrong path to the ball, and it was just bad.
Yeah. Before I get to that, the one thing that did bother me when you're watching it, the run defense, I think it might have been the second half. There was just a point where Jaleel McLaughlin just got whatever. He had 10 carries for 69 yards. For those doing the math at home, that's close to 7 yards per carry. 7 yards per carry is not good if you're a defense. And they were really just getting whatever they wanted to. So that did worry me. I'm happy that the Broncos got away from that. And part of it probably was because of their time of possession. They didn't have a ton of time with the ball, so I don't know if they felt they could afford it. And I think teams are going to approach that now. There's not too many. Even the good defenses get scored on. It's just the game is shifted to help the offense as much as possible. Good defenses are keeping your points per game down, and every now and then you have some elite ones. But I think a lot of teams are going to be approaching this to trying to do the opposite of what we did to Denver. They're going to try to keep the time of possession. But if you don't get off to a quick start and the Bengals jump on you early, you got to start passing it. And I think if you want to get in a shootout with the Bengals, I don't think it's going to fare well with you. I just really don't.
Not at all.
I just really don't. Your best thing is to be really efficient with your third down offense to keep your defense off that field. So if you can convert those 3rd and 5s and those 3rd and 6s and frustrate us as Bengals fans, and that's your best bet. But that's what the Broncos really didn't do. I think I said 33% for the Broncos. That's what really was the difference in this game. And that's why I want to highlight the defense, because They got the stops when they needed them. We said it 3-4 weeks ago. We're at the point of the season now. It doesn't matter how it looks. We just got to get the wins. And the fact that they were able to come up with those timely stops meant everything. However, I say that with a grain of salt because as many timely stops as they had, there were 2 huge ones that really killed us. One, you just talked about it. Listen, for those who don't know, I'm sure you know about football if you're listening to this podcast. Safeties, if you mess up, anybody out there playing safety, if you used to be a safety, you know what I'm about to say is true. Even if you mess up everything else on your assignment, the one thing you can't mess up on is letting anybody get behind you. Yeah. Like you learned that at Pee Wee football. You're the last line of defense, nothing gets behind you. Don't care what else happened. If something else happened, I mean, they ain't do their job, but you got to do yours. Mims, and I shout out to, I got to give him credit, Bo Nix, that was a beautiful ball.
Man,
that was a beautiful ball.
50 yards in the air, too. I mean, it was.
Yeah, he slung that. And I saw it, and that was right in our end zone.
Yeah.
Where we sit. And I saw it, and I looked down, and I'm like, the only way we can stop this is if this ball is just not perfectly thrown. Mims caught it perfectly, but that wasn't even his most impressive catch.
No, that's the crazy part.
The 4th and 1, when you think this game is locked up.
Yeah.
You got 4th and 1 with 8 seconds, 11 seconds, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Insane, Phil. Like,
yeah.
What were you thinking at that time? I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
I turned into that viral GIF meme, whatever. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, real quick. I want to set the stage for those if you don't remember what we're talking about. Tie ball game. Jermaine Pratt. Phil talked about it earlier. Big time interception. We come down. We scored. If I'm not mistaken. So it makes it 24-17. I think that's the sequence of events.
Set up the Burrow.
That set up the Burrow push. Yeah, Joe Gritty. So that's what we're looking at with seconds left, less than a minute left. And you expect teams running 2-minute offense, and they got the 4th and 1 with 11 or 8. And then we just talked about this play. Phil, what was you say you were turning into a meme? Man,
the Cam Newton, I think he was, I forget who he was talking to on the bench, where he slide down the bench and just like melt. Like that was me. Like that was that moment. Like it happened in every single 1-score game. I'm like, that was the first moment where I felt like, yep, we're going to blow this one. You know what I mean? That was the first time that I felt like that. And then, I mean, part of me was like, nah, he didn't catch that. It's no way he caught that. Like, it's no way. The coverage was like sticky. I mean, it was double team. It was just no way. It was no way I thought it hit. I was looking for anything. You know what I mean? And I think it was 1 second left or however many seconds left when he caught it. And I'm like, man, we really going into overtime. Like, I mean, like, I like free football, but I didn't want it to that day,
Yeah, nah, seriously. If the game is just so important, the weight of it, just knowing that you had to win and knowing that you had the game sealed up and just in that incredible play that Mims made. And you're right, you're showing it on the Jumbotron, and I'm just every which way that I can imagine that for them to overturn it. Because I'm thinking, like, I always look at it as a Dez catch. Shout out to Donovan. I'm sorry, Donovan. I hate to use that as a reference. But I always think about the Dez catch, and I always think to myself, if that wasn't a catch, then this probably isn't a catch because it looks like he lost control. But you see it over and over, and it's like, nah, he really caught that in between 2 defenders, and it was just one of those things. He made a play.
And I just knew they were going to go for 2. So that kind of took me a certain way. Also, I'm like, man, please don't let it end this way. Then they kicked the field goal to play for overtime, and I was relieved momentarily. So
yeah, we talk about it often. Hindsight is 20/20. And I'm sure if they can go back, they would. Because the thing about the Broncos is in the position they're in, this is a big-time game. They need to win it. It's a playoff game for them as well. But they have 2 shots at it to where we only have 1. So if they wanted to roll the dice and say, you know what, we got the momentum after a play like that, I think you go ahead and do it. Because even if you lose, let's go ahead and take care of business next week. But we get to overtime. Obviously, the Broncos fall short. We get a chance at the play. You talked about the T catch, setting up the field goal. Okay, York comes out. And I promise you, another dude to the right of me, I was sitting next to. We were just, as that drive was building up, we were just talking about let's be aggressive. Phil, you and I have talked about, especially in that Ravens game, Like, stop being conservative because we're up and it looks like we're going to win. Keep running your offense. Keep doing what you do. I just think that's good for your rhythm. That's just good for your offense. And if you want to slow it down, have a special playbook for that. Have a special package for that. Yeah. But you still running your offense. Don't be in situations where everybody in the stadium knows what's about to happen. And I get it. Team made that play. You don't expect anybody to miss a 35-yarder. So I'm not saying I don't want to put that on Zach. You don't expect your kicker to miss a 35-yarder. Right. Or however, it might have been shorter than that. But he sure enough came out and it hit that left goal post. And that's when I just stood there with my mouth open. Like, just couldn't believe it.
My beef with that was like, why even run the ball? Like, just kneel it. Just kneel it out. You don't get Chase Brown hurt. You know, all them different, like, I just hate the way that kicking the field goal on third down. Like, I hated all of that. You know, I hated all of that. I mean, even if he makes the field goal and the game ends, I hate the way that we handled it down the stretch there. So, you know, kind of piggybacking on what you said about, you know, getting conservative. Like, even though teams don't want to play us, I really don't want them to play us because I want them to feel like, man, they might throttle us. They might run the score up on us. You know, like, I want teams to feel like that coming into the games. I don't ever want them to feel like, we got a chance. You know, if we keep it close, they'll give us opportunities. Like, no, you never want the opposing team to feel that way. So that was my beef there. And when he doinked that field goal, hooking it left from the right hash, I mean, again, that was the second time. I'm like, these are the games that we've lost all season. You know what I mean? And at that point, I'm like, we really gonna lose our playoff chance on the tie. Like, that's how I felt, because I didn't think we would get the ball back. Honestly, I didn't think we would get another chance.
I'm glad you said that, because that's exactly what the feeling was. The realization after that missed field goal was, we're going to tie this game. And that does nothing for us. Yep. And I honestly thought the Broncos were going to play it like we're going to go for the tie. What game was that last year where they messed that up? Was that last year or 2 years ago? It might have been the Jaguars, Raiders, somebody. I can't remember. But had they played for the tie, one of the teams would have got in. But I can't remember. Somebody out there is probably thinking of it right now. Either way, I thought they were going to play for the tie, just try to run as much clock off as they could. Once again, another timely stop, and then you knew the offense just had that spark. Joe was not going to let them go down and try to do another field goal. We're coming down here to score. Touchdown to Tee Higgins. Ball game. Joe's fired up. Stadium's fired up. We're all fired up.
Yeah.
Just an incredible game, man. Incredible day. Celebrating your birthday afterwards, after a big win, and I was really concerned about that. I'm not even joking, man. I was like, man, this is going to kill the mood if we don't come out of here with this dub. It was just a perfect day, man. Perfect day, and
anybody that knows me, like, the Bengals can not only ruin my day, they can ruin my whole week. You know what I mean? So I'm really glad we came out on the right end of things there as well. So big time win. Appreciate everyone that came out and celebrated. You know, my birthday. Shout out to my brother for hanging around and kicking it with me, and everybody else that came out, kicked it.
Shout out to B Show too, man. I saw him at the game. You know what I mean? Had a brotherhood drink. So shout out to B Show out there too.
Yes, sir.
Hard Knocks just did a great job of. We don't have to spend too much time on Hard Knocks, but they just did a great job of highlighting everything we just discussed. We got to see the real time reactions, because that was one of the things I said. I said I can't wait to see the Hard Knocks episode. As up and down as this game was, and as crazy as it was. But for those of you who were watching, who aren't out of the market or something like that, and just watching on TV, incredible game. It's as good, as fun as it was. I'm sure to watch, it was even crazier to be at. But Phil, we still have some work to do. The Giants beat the Indianapolis Colts, which knocked down one domino for us. So we really need the Dolphins to lose to the Jets, I believe, this week.
Yep, we need the Dolphins to lose to the Jets, and we need the Broncos to lose to the Kansas City JV squad.
Yeah, so let's talk about that first. So here's my thoughts. The Jets just laid an egg to the Bills. For those who don't know, Aaron Rodgers is one touchdown pass away from 500. I think he'll be the fifth player ever to throw for 500 touchdowns. He also came out and acknowledged that this could possibly be his last game in the NFL. He has an irreparable relationship with owner Woody Johnson. If he does continue to play, it will not be for the Jets. I
That's
think
facts.
just following Aaron Rodgers over the years, I think he's going to have a big FU to Woody Johnson and try to go out with a win just to kind of say, take this on the way out. And I think he's going to get that 500. I don't think he wants to end his career this way. So I have a good feeling that they're going to come in and take care of, I think it's a home game for him too.
If I'm not mistaken, it is a home game. I believe so.
Cool. So we needed to be cold in New York because we already know about 2 in the cold, but we definitely need that to happen. And then the Chiefs, obviously.
Yep, it's in New York, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the Dolphins are like 1-11 in their past 12 games and 35 or below. So
there you go. All you bettors out there, take that piece of advice for this weekend. Here's the thing. I know a lot of people are talking about the main thing, which is going to be the Chiefs Broncos. A couple of things. So here's what I honestly think. I think I was talking to Donovan about this actually when I saw him this past week. These are just my thoughts. Obviously, we know that the Chiefs have no incentive to help the Bengals get in. That would even, I think, if they kind of rolled over and let the Broncos win, I think that would even spark up the rivalry even more. That's something that we just wouldn't forget. That's something that they wouldn't forget the next time they play. However, I will say this, and I'll tip my hat to that. I do think they're a top-notch organization. I think they're going to rest their guys because it makes sense to rest their guys. But I think they're going to come out and compete.
Does it make sense to them rest? Because they're going to get the 1 seed. They're going to rest 2 weeks in a row. I don't think that makes sense, in my opinion.
Well, I think Mahomes' ankle is still bothering for him. Maybe not all the starters, but I think some people that we know is ailing, Travis Kelce, older. I think some of the guys, it does make sense for them to rest. So either way, even if they played all their starters, I expected Mahomes to sit, even if everybody else played. I just knew that from they were talking about him finishing that game on that ankle sprain. The fact that he's been playing every week since because they want to secure that 1. I think they wanted to secure the 1, and then they realized, and I think that's why they came out so aggressive against the Steelers because they didn't want to push that off.
And I get that, but I think about, you done took a week, 2 weeks off of the gym before, or, maybe did low impact for a week or something like that. And then you try to get back into it. What happens?
And it could turn around and bite them. But all I'm going to say is I do think that there is a wealth of knowledge that comes with being in that position. I think that being back-to-back Super Bowl champions, 3-time Super Bowl champions, and this Andy Reid, Pat Mahomes, Travis Kelce era, I think that matters. I think there's things that you just kind of know how to do. I think your guys get up for these games. But I do think they're professionals. And I personally, I'm not saying I believe in like a way of life, but I do think there is something to be said about bad karma. About going out there and not trying. And then that's not the way you want to get ready for the playoffs, even with the week off. And another thing we have to remember, that Broncos-Chiefs rivalry is deep. It runs deep. Like they're not, they don't like the Bengals, but that's way deeper than the Bengals. Like that thing is a real in the AFC West.
And if I'm not go ahead.
I was gonna say lastly, and I just honestly feel the Bengals are going to make the playoffs. I don't know how it's going to happen. But I just been feeling that. I just feel like they're going to make the playoffs. As we mentioned, we have to win if we don't win on Saturday, then it really doesn't matter.
Nothing else matters,
But I really think we're going to make the play. I think we're going to win, and I think the Dolphins are going to lose, and I think the Broncos are going to lose. I really think that's going to happen.
And you talked about how deep that rivalry is between the Broncos and the Chiefs. If I'm not mistaken, the Broncos are 1-18 in their last 19 against the Chiefs. And that, it's a lot of different moving pieces, a lot of different regimes, that have been involved in that rivalry. So, I don't think it's unrealistic for, Carson Wentz to, cook up some magic and find a way to beat the Broncos. I mean, he has got to sit with Andy Reid and Pat all season. So, you can't discount that. So,
I just don't see them. I just don't see Andy Reid walking in the team meeting and just saying, all right, let's take it easy this week, fellas. He's probably going to tell him, like, hey, let's make sure we do everything we can to get out of this game healthy. But I can't see him saying, like, all right, let's go ahead and give this one up. Let's roll over on this one. That's just not how you're not back-to-back champs. You're not 3-time champs with that mentality. I just don't see that happening. Now, can the Broncos win? Sure, they can, but I don't think they will. I don't think they will. I don't think the Dolphins will, and I think we will. So that's just my thoughts on it. I will be in Pittsburgh at the game Shout out to Phil for quarterback and the tickets.
Absolutely.
We'll be in Pittsburgh at the game. I said if this game matters, I will be there. Obviously, the Ravens play. It's an AFC North Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
So we got the Ravens, we got the Ravens playing the Browns, and we have the Steelers and Bengals. If the Ravens win, they're automatically the AFC North champs.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how the seeding will change, if it will change. But I'm interested to see if we know by the time 8 o'clock comes what the Steelers end up doing. Once again, same type of organization as the Chiefs. I don't see them rolling over, but maybe there's some guys that you wouldn't expect to play or not to play that don't play, because we'll see.
Yeah, I mean the Steelers haven't played good football since they played us 4 weeks ago. So 4 or 5 weeks ago. So I definitely expect Pittsburgh to play, because like you said, you don't want to go into the playoffs not playing your best. So
that's real.
Yeah, I even though Kansas City, obviously, I don't think they're as good as their 15-1 record shows, but Pittsburgh, definitely has not been playing good ball. And I think, if we beat them, which I expect them to do this Saturday, I think that'll be 4 straight losses, and they still find their way into the playoffs. So, not a way that you want to go into the playoffs.
So that's a good point. They're going to be motivated.
Mm-hmm. And while we're on that topic, the Bengals are Saturday will become the first team ever to have 5 primetime games on the road in a single season. So I don't know what the league has against us. It seems like there's always these type of stats involving the Bengals. So 5 primetime road games is wild. I think the Cincinnati fans deserve a few more of those, but here we are.
Hey man, listen, keep stacking them. Let's keep
Absolutely.
stacking them. Game balls, I think everybody knows Tee Higgins.
Mm-hmm.
Tee Higgins, Joe Burrow, and the defense overall for making those
Mm-hmm.
timely stops.
Mm-hmm.
Got to give a shout out to them for the is it Tamoris? It's Timoris? Tamoris? Tamoris William Higgins, man.
Yeah.
He one of them ones. He's one of them ones. Top shelf team.
Absolutely.
But game balls go to him, Burrow, and like I said, the defense for those timely stops. Anything else you want to add before we get out of here?
Yeah, before we get out of here, gotta shout out Joe for extending his streak, becoming the first QB in NFL history with 8 consecutive games with at least 250 yards and 3 passing touchdowns, extending his own streak. He also became the 4th quarterback in league history with 3 or more scoring passes in 8 straight games. And he also, again, broke his own single season passing record. But the big thing that I want to make sure that I shout out is the greatest of all time, Jamar Chase, passing Hushmanzada's single season receptions record. He did that early in the 4th quarter, recorded his 113th catch to pass TJ's 112 that he had in 2007. Great year. And I think he finished the game with 117 on the season, so a chance to extend that even further. I'm sure you heard Joe Burrow said they're going to feed Jamar a lot this Saturday, so they can ensure that he gets that triple crown. And Joe did hit number 40, so good to see there. So just wanted to make sure I touched on those things. Like I said, it was a historic game, so I just wanted to make sure that I touched on those.
I want to have a real conversation about Joe and MVP, but let's wait until after this Pittsburgh game.
For sure. Because if we don't win this game, it's all for naught. So
so I'm like, let's just wait. Let's wait and talk about it after this Pittsburgh game. But I'm excited out there. I'm sure everybody else is. All you Bengals fans are excited about this Saturday. I'm sure it's gonna be rocking. I love going into enemy territory, but it's gonna be a fun time. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you out there, everybody, for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Please remember to subscribe, like, and make sure you share it, whether it's a Bengals fan, whether it is a football fan, because once the Bengals season is over, hopefully it's not until February. But whenever the Bengals season is over, we're still going to be covering the NFL playoffs and the Super Bowl. We plan on having some draft coverage and sprinkling some things every now and then to keep the feed active. So we'll work all of that stuff out. But for right now, we'll just focus on Week 18 at Pittsburgh. thank you for rocking with us. Thanks for tuning in. Phil, anything else before we get out?
That's it, man. Like you said, like, share, subscribe, whether it's on, text message, group chats, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, wherever. Like, share, subscribe, YouTube. We're trying to build this community up going forward, and really appreciate each and every listener's support. And looking forward to this weekend. Looking forward to you going to Pittsburgh and get us a dub. And excited to end 2024 with a win, and hopefully start 2025 with a win as well. So
absolutely. All right, y'all. We'll see you next week when we're in the playoffs. Who they?
Who they?